This video is going to be about my favourite investment fund for 2026, and also it's going to be the only investment fund that I use this year. Now, if you actually want to chat to me, I am offering some financial coaching, so feel free to visit the link in the description if you want more information on that. As always, please note that I'm not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. So when I'm looking at funds, I check to see if they meet certain sort of requirements to ensure that these funds are going to fit in with my own investing strategy. And just to explain why I choose to invest in the way that I do, well, there's a combination of the historical returns that investing has shown in the past, and also my own situation / attitude to risk. So just to kind of summarize, let's take a look at a global tracker fund. This returned just over 10% per year on average over the past 20 years. That is the actual real performance. Now, while past performance doesn't guarantee future results, it could mean that the money I invest today will be worth a lot more in the future. And even at an 8% return, so worse than what we actually saw take place in the past, the amount of money invested would 10x in 30 years. And that's thanks to compounding. And so if you're thinking about it in that sense, £1 has the potential to become £10 over a 30-year time span. And I think that's a really compelling point to make, because what other avenues do you have where there's a real tangible chance that your money could be worth that much more? The second part is obviously about my situation. Now, that's a little bit complicated and involved, as all of us, we have lots of things going on in our lives. We're in very different situations, and so I won't go over everything about that in this video, but just to say that I am in a financially stable situation with no bad debt. And if I had any credit card debt that was kind of close to or above 10%, then I would be prioritizing paying that off first, because it wouldn't make sense to just sort of like get a potential 10% return when I would be guaranteed to lose 10% over my debts. But seeing as I don't have any of those bad debts, and I also won't need access to the money that I intend to invest for a long time, then I do stand to gain a lot from choosing to invest in the stock market. Hence why I'm super interested in finding the best investment fund. Now, on this spreadsheet, I have a list of 11 different funds that are sufficiently diverse. As mentioned earlier, I like funds that track the entire world rather than a specific country or industry sector. And if you wanted to find these funds for yourself, you could Google something like best global tracker funds, which is what I've essentially done for you, but you can feel free to take this list as a starting point, or to just Google around and see what is out there. But taking this list, now, they all have a relatively similar sort of makeup because they're all global tracker funds. However, I have also worked through for my own personal preferences and eliminated some of these straight away, because I look for accumulating funds, and what that means is that this particular fund is going to reinvest any of the dividends that get kind of paid out from the companies that are held within it, and just make sure that it's all kept within the fund, within the investment itself. And that is kind of just easier for me on an admin kind of point, because It means that I don't have to go and manually reinvest anything at all, and it helps me make sure that I'm maximising the use of my ISA allowance and getting the best effects from compounding as well, because essentially the more money that we can build up within our investment fund, the bigger it's going to get over time. So I actually removed 2 from this list because they were income and not accumulating, and that is one of my criteria. It doesn't have to be one of yours. But also I prefer to include emerging markets because while it only makes up a very small proportion of the fund, I think it just enables me to get the most broadest diversification possible, and it means that I can have lots of different countries in this one fund, and then I don't kind of feel the need to go looking for another fund to add to my portfolio to make sure that I've covered this kind of part of the world. I removed 2 from the list for not having emerging markets. The final outlier on this list is actually the one called IMID because it's listed in USD. Now, that's a no-go for me personally because I prefer to keep my investments in Great British pounds to save on any FX or currency conversion fees. I've ordered these ones now based on their ongoing charge, which is the price that you pay to be invested in the fund. It's separate to the platform fees, which might also apply, but I find this useful just to look at them in isolation and to see how much it is realistically going to cost to invest in them. And the thing about the kind of cost to invest or these ongoing charges and also the platform charge is that it's the only thing that you can actually be 100% certain about because, well, as we've already discussed, the actual return on your investment is really just a best guess and no one can predict the future. So we don't know how well it's going to perform, but what we do know is, at least in the near future, what we can expect to pay. And I haven't actually chosen to exclude any of the other funds due to the companies they include because, well, I think they're all well provisioned with thousands of companies in the mix. You can see that on the holdings column. And the only one with true coverage of all sizes is the Vanguard FTSE Global All Cap Index Fund, which has companies in it ranging from large, medium to small cap. And the rest you can see don't really have that small cap or small company coverage in there. This was probably the hardest decision of all of it because I wasn't 100% sure whether I wanted to pay the extra money to get the extra exposure to all of those additional companies or not. But the thing that really helped me make the final decision was actually looking at the platforms that these funds were available on. And in the end, I actually chose my new favourite investment fund to be ACWI. Now, a lot of you might know that I've already invested into this fund. I did a little kind of trial investment where I was testing out Trading 2 and 2, and I felt that this fund was my favourite on that platform. And the great thing about Trading 2 and 2 is that there's 0 platform fees. But for the Vanguard fund, you have to pay Vanguard's fees. And that's going to be a minimum of £4 a month, which on its own is not too much. But when you add it up between kind of oh, well, to go with this platform, it gives me access to this kind of more diversified fund, but I'm paying more for the fund, I'm paying more for the platform. I just kind of made the call that right now, I don't think it's worth that additional cost. everybody should be making their own choice, and I know that there are some others that would make the other call on this, but I think this whole list is a solid list in my opinion. So it's just about eliminating and making a choice, really, because we have to choose at some stage, and there's very little point of having, again, in my opinion, multiples of these funds in your portfolio, because the overlap is extreme and you're just kind of overcomplicating things without any kind of real upside that I can see. By choosing ACWI as my top fund, you know, obviously I'm really happy with that choice, and also that this will be the fund that I use for my stocks and shares ISA going forward into the next and new financial year. I'm really excited because I was fortunate to max out my allowance last year, but that has meant that I have been unable to kind of invest for quite a few months now, and I've been really itching to get back into it. So I've got a good decent amount of savings piled up, which I will be hopefully not wasting any time in using on come April 6th. I'm really interested in finding out which fund you would choose. I'm interested to see what is the criteria that you look for in your investment funds. Let me know in the comments below, and just a quick reminder again that I have a few slots open for my financial coaching. So all you got to do is visit the website and book a free call with me. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.